This day was called Preparation Day. That means the day before the Sabbath day. It was becoming dark. A man named Joseph from Arimathea was brave enough to go to Pilate and ask for Jesus' body. Joseph was an important member of the High Council. He was one of the people who wanted God's kingdom to come. Pilate was surprised to hear that Jesus was already dead. So he called for the army officer in charge and asked him if Jesus was already dead. When Pilate heard it from the officer, he told Joseph he could have the body. Joseph bought some linen cloth. He took the body from the cross, wrapped it in the linen, and put the body in a tomb that was dug in a wall of rock. Then he closed the tomb by rolling a large stone to cover the entrance. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joses, saw the place where Jesus was put. That evening, a rich man named Joseph came to Jerusalem. He was a follower of Jesus from the town of Arimathea. He went to Pilate and asked to have Jesus' body. Pilate gave orders for the soldiers to give Jesus' body to him. Then Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a new linen cloth. He put Jesus' body in a new tomb that he had dug in a wall of rock. Then he closed the tomb by rolling a very large stone to cover the entrance. After he did this, he went away. Mary Magdalene and the other woman named Mary were sitting near the tomb. A man named Joseph was there from the Jewish town of Arimathea. He was a good man who lived the way God wanted. He was waiting for God's kingdom to come. Joseph was a member of the Jewish council, but he did not agree when the other Jewish leaders decided to kill Jesus. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. He took the body down from the cross and wrapped it in cloth. Then he put it in a tomb that was dug in a wall of rock. This tomb had never been used before. It was late on Preparation Day when the sun went down. The Sabbath day would begin. The women who had come from Galilee with Jesus followed Joseph. They saw the tomb. Inside they saw where he put Jesus' body. Then they left to prepare some sweet-smelling spices to put on the body. On the Sabbath day, they rested, as commanded in the law of Moses. Later, a man named Joseph from Arimathea asked Pilate for the body of Jesus. Joseph was a follower of Jesus, but he did not tell anyone because he was afraid of the Jewish leaders. Pilate said Joseph could take Jesus' body, so he came and took it away. Nicodemus went with Joseph. He was the man who had come to Jesus before and talked to him at night. He brought about 100 pounds of spices, a mixture of myrrh and aloes. These two men took Jesus' body and wrapped it in pieces of linen cloth with the spices. This is how the Jews bury people. In the place where Jesus was killed on the cross, there was a garden. In the garden there was a new tomb. No one had ever been buried there before. The men put Jesus in that tomb because it was near, and the Jews were preparing to start their Sabbath day. That day was the day called Preparation Day. The next day, the leading priests and the Pharisees went to Pilate. They said, "Sir, we remember that while that liar was still alive, he said, 'I will rise from death in 3 days.' So give the order for the tomb to be guarded well for 3 days. His followers might come and try to steal the body. Then they could tell everyone that he has risen from death. That lie will be even worse than what they said about him before." Pilate said, "Take some soldiers and go guard the tomb the best way you know." So they all went to the tomb and made it safe from thieves. They did this by sealing the stone in the entrance and putting soldiers there to guard it. The next day, after the Sabbath day, Mary Magdalene, Salome, and Mary the mother of James brought some sweet-smelling spices to put on Jesus' body. Very early on that day, the first day of the week, the women were going to the tomb. It was very early after sunrise. The women said to each other, "There is a large stone covering the entrance of the tomb. Who will move the stone for us?" Then the women looked and saw that the stone was moved. The stone was very large, but it was moved away from the entrance. The women walked into the tomb and saw a young man there wearing a white robe. He was sitting on the right side of the tomb. The women were afraid. But the man said, "Don't be afraid. You are looking for Jesus from Nazareth, the one who was killed on a cross. He has risen from death. He is not here. Look, here is the place they put him when he was dead. Now go and tell his followers, and be sure to tell Peter. Tell them, Jesus is going into Galilee and will be there before you come. You will see him there, as he told you before." The women were very afraid and confused. They left the tomb and ran away. They did not tell about what happened, because they were afraid. The day after the Sabbath day was the first day of the week. That day at dawn, Mary Magdalene and the other woman named Mary went to look at the tomb. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord came from the sky, and there was a huge earthquake. The angel went to the tomb and rolled the stone away from the entrance. Then he sat on top of the stone. The angel was shining as bright as lightning. His clothes were as white as snow. The soldiers guarding the tomb were very afraid of the angel. They shook with fear and then became like dead men. The angel said to the women, "Don't be afraid. I know you are looking for Jesus, the one who was killed on the cross. But he is not here. He has risen from death, as he said he would. Come and see the place where his body was. And go quickly and tell his followers, Jesus has risen from death. He is going to Galilee and will be there before you. You will see him there." Then the angel said, "Now I have told you." Very early Sunday morning, the women came to the tomb where Jesus' body was laid. They brought the sweet-smelling spices they had prepared. They saw that the heavy stone that covered the entrance had been rolled away. They went in, but they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. They did not understand this. While they were wondering about it, two men in shining clothes stood beside them. The women were very afraid. They bowed down with their faces to the ground. The men said to them, "Why are you looking for a living person here? This is a place for dead people. Jesus is not here. He has risen from death. Do you remember what he said in Galilee? He said the Son of Man must be handed over to the control of sinful men, be killed on a cross, and rise from death on the third day." Then the women remembered what Jesus had said. The women left the tomb and went to the 11 apostles and the other followers. They told them everything that happened at the tomb. These women were Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary, the mother of James, and some others. They told the apostles everything that happened. But the apostles did not believe what they said. It sounded like nonsense. But Peter got up and ran to the tomb to see. He looked in, but he saw only the cloth that Jesus' body had been wrapped in. It was just lying there. Peter went away to be alone, wondering what had happened. Jesus rose from death early on the first day of the week. He appeared first to Mary Magdalene. One time, in the past, Jesus had forced 7 demons out of Mary. After Mary saw Jesus, she went and told his followers. They were very sad and were crying, but Mary told them that Jesus was alive. She said that she had seen Jesus, but they did not believe her. Early on Sunday morning, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb. She saw that the large stone was moved away from the entrance. So she ran to Simon Peter and the other follower, the one Jesus loved very much. She said, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they put him." So Peter and the other follower started going to the tomb. They were both running, but the other follower ran faster than Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent down and looked in. He saw the pieces of linen cloth lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter finally reached the tomb and went in. He saw the pieces of linen lying there. He also saw the cloth that had been around Jesus' head. It was folded up and laid in a different place from the pieces of linen. Then the other follower went in, the one who had reached the tomb first. He saw what had happened and believed. These followers did not yet understand from the scriptures that Jesus must rise from death. Then the followers went back home. But Mary stood outside the tomb, crying. While she was crying, she bent down and looked inside the tomb. She saw 2 angels dressed in white sitting where Jesus' body had been. One was sitting where the head had been. The other was sitting where the feet had been. The angels asked Mary, "Woman, why are you crying?" Mary answered, "They took away the body of my Lord, and I don't know where they put him." When Mary said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not know that it was Jesus. He asked her, "Woman, why are you crying? Who are you looking for?" She thought he was the man in charge of the garden, so she said to him, "Did you take him away, sir? Tell me where you put him. I will go and get him." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned toward him and said in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "You don't need to hold on to me. I have not yet gone back up to the Father. But go to my followers and tell them this: I'm going back to my Father and your Father. I'm going back to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went to the followers and told them, "I saw the Lord!" And she told them what he had said to her. So the women left the tomb quickly. They were afraid, but they were also very happy. They ran to tell his followers what happened. Suddenly, Jesus was there in front of them. He said, "Hello." The women went to him and, holding on to his feet, worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Don't be afraid. Go tell my followers to go to Galilee. They will see me there." The women went to tell the followers. At the same time, some of the soldiers who were guarding the tomb went into the city. They went to tell the leading priest everything that happened. Then the priests met with the older Jewish leaders and made a plan. They paid the soldiers a lot of money and said to them, "Tell the people that Jesus' followers came during the night and stole the body while you were sleeping. If the governor hears about this, we will talk to him and keep you out of trouble." So the soldiers kept the money and obeyed the priest. And that story is still spread among the Jews even today.